Right now on KREM 2 News at noon, former President Trump's legal team is reacting to Monday's Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity, and a former Trump ally is being disbarred.
Lots of sunshine this 4th of July week, but there is a heat upcoming, so we'll talk about that in just a few moments.
All right, then the summer travel season, it is in full swing. How one airline is trying to get customers back in the spirit of flying. Hi everyone, it is so good to see you. Welcome to KREM 2 News at noon. I'm Laura Papetti, and we begin with this today. Burn restrictions are now in effect across Spokane County, and that does include the cities of Spokane, Spokane Valley, Cheney, Airway Heights, and Deer Park. Backyard fire pits or campfires using chopped firewood and charcoal are prohibited. Also not allowed is any open burning of fields and garbage. However, what is allowed? Outdoor chimneys, barbecues, and patio warmers. Campfires are allowed in parks and in campgrounds if they are approved by the appropriate agencies. So just be careful out there as we continue into what's going to be a holiday week. In the meantime, in just a few hours, the Coeur d'Alene City Council is expected to consider a new hate crime ordinance. It will create a separate offense if a person commits a crime such as property damage or disorderly conduct because of the victim's race, gender, or sexual orientation. This move comes after two racially motivated incidents in downtown Coeur d'Alene this year involving the Utah women's basketball team and teens from the Coeur d'Alene tribe. We'll certainly be sure to update you on what happens during tonight's meeting right here on KREM 2 and of course always on KREM.com. It's 2 minutes past noon right now. We're going to head outside where we find Brandon T. Jones. He's going to let us know what to expect this afternoon. Hi.
Hi there, Laura. Yeah, summertime in the 509. It is a beautiful afternoon that we've got here today. Lots of sunshine, a good mixture of some clouds in the sky as well, with highs in the low 80s for us here today. And that's going to be leading us into a beautiful 4th of July as we're less than 48 hours from Independence Day. Lots to celebrate as we get ready to get to our 4th of July. We're also expecting a breezy afternoon. So Laura, I heard you talk about those burn restrictions that went into place. Good reminder to be as safe as possible and to follow those restrictions because we could see gusts up to maybe 25, 28 miles per hour. So be safe and following those restrictions keep us all in a good position. And then that last note right there at the bottom, I'm going to talk about that in our full forecast because the heat is on its way.
Brandon, thank you very much. Coming in new at noon, a local college basketball star is packing her bags and she's headed to Paris for the Olympics. Gonzaga's Yvonne Ejim is one of 12 players named to Canada's roster for the year's Olympic Games. It's Team Canada's 8th appearance in the women's tournament, and this is their 4th consecutive Olympic appearance. First game for them is July 29th against France. And sticking with basketball, after spending the first 14 years of his NBA career with the Golden State Warriors, WSU legend Klay Thompson signed a 3-year, $50 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks. The 34-year-old averages 17.9 points per game in his final season with the Warriors. Now we have some new reaction after the Supreme Court ruled former presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution. CBS's Jared Hale tells us why former President Donald Trump is now asking a judge to set aside his guilty verdict.
This morning, new questions around whether the Supreme Court's monumental ruling on presidential immunity could impact former President Trump's felony convictions. Trump's lawyers are asking the judge in his New York financial records case to delay next week's sentencing and toss out the convictions, claiming some evidence came from his time in the White House and should be considered official presidential acts.
For the things that are just for the president, for those things that are just within the president's ambit, absolute immunity. For official acts in general, at least presumptive immunity.
The High Court's 6-3 decision will likely slow Trump's January 6th election interference trial.
There is an enormous amount of legal work that is now going to have to unfold over the next several months. That means the chances of a trial before the election are zero at this point.
President Biden criticized the first of its kind Supreme Court ruling.
Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits what a president can do.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the conservative majority that the president may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers without specifying the limits of those powers. Justice Sonia Sotomayor offered hypotheticals in the dissent, quote, with fear for our democracy, predicting disastrous consequences as a result of the decision she called deeply wrong. Trump celebrated the moment, writing on social media, "Big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American." Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
And yesterday's Supreme Court ruling stems from an appeal over arguments of whether Trump can be prosecuted over his efforts to overturn the 2020 general election. Now, the justices ordered lower courts to figure out how to apply the decision to Trump's case, including what constitutes an official act as the president. Trump's 2020 election interference trial was supposed to have started in March. However, the case has been on hold since December to allow Trump to pursue his appeal. The timing of the trial matters, of course, for the 2024 presidential election. According to the Associated Press, if Trump wins, he could appoint an attorney general who would seek the dismissal of this case and the other federal prosecutions that he faces. Trump could also potentially order a pardon for himself. The Supreme Court's ruling is expected to tie the case up now for months. And this comes as Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and legal advisor to former President Trump, is now disbarred in New York. That announcement came just hours ago. A New York appeals court ruled that Giuliani is disbarred effective immediately after he repeatedly made false statements about Donald Trump's 2020 election loss. All right, it is all the buzz. Online search trends show people are wondering if there is currently a coffee recall in the United States. So we verify those questions in the next 3 minutes right here on KREM 2 News at Noon.